Hi, so this will be my final presentation for Geography 325. So, what did I do? So, I took data on population and socioeconomic status, so poverty rates and the median income on the county level, and I decided to compare it with the election data from the four corner states, being Utah, Colorado, Arizona, and New Mexico. I chose these states for a few reasons. They all have affluent and non affluent regions, so show a clear divide between poor and wealthy. It also has rural and urban areas, well defined ones. And the states also cover the range of the quote unquote red, blue, and swing states because I'm comparing this to the election data. So there are some limitations. First off, the ETM zone that I used to project this is Zone 12, and it covers most of Arizona and Utah, though only a small portion of Colorado and New Mexico. I chose Zone 12 because it was the only zone that covered all four at once, albeit not all of the four states, though that's just how the UTM zones are. They're imperfect by their very nature, so it is what it is. And the factors that are discussed are only some that would influence voting patterns because there's gender, there's education level, there's race, but I didn't use data associated with that. And also, I had to do some data manipulation, and my decisions on the data manipulation impact how the projection looks. And you'll see later something that looks a little strange. I'll explain why it is the way that it is. So, as you can see, there's the population per county up here. In Utah, there's Salt Lake City, so there's a lot of people there. Denver and its suburbs. There's also Colorado Springs down here, so there's a lot of people. Albuquerque and Santa Fe are here, and then Tucson's down here, and Phoenix, of course, which houses most of Arizona's residents. Phoenix and its surrounding suburbs is here. So here is the median income per county map. As you can see, there's a lot of wealth up here around Salt Lake City, and there is some wealth around the Denver suburbs. As you can see, some of it does stretch into the Rocky Mountains, more rural counties, and the reason behind that would be that there are ski towns there. So there would be a lot of people coming in to ski. They'd be staying at hotels, spending money at restaurants. So there's plenty of money that is coming in from those. So also Albuquerque and Santa Fe in here, and then there's wealthier people, whether it's retirees or it's people who they live here and then they commute in to work at Albuquerque. And then there's also a fair amount of wealth here in Phoenix. Is some blue collar people, but there are some pretty wealthy communities in there as well. And then so unfortunately, there's a lot more poverty than we would all like there to be. You can see there's a high amount of poverty here in these rural counties in New Mexico. There's also a lot here in this corner. A lot of this is not just because it's rural, but also there are a fair amount of Native American reservations. So that's definitely factoring into, like, there's the Navajo Nation up here, and there's a lot of people that live in the Navajo Nation. So that's what's driving up the poverty rate, unfortunately. And so here is the total votes per county. Totally, this is for 2020. And so you can see there's a lot of votes here, Salt Lake City, a lot of votes coming out of Phoenix and Tucson down in Arizona, a lot coming out of Albuquerque, and a lot coming out of Denver and its surrounding areas. And then these are just a couple little maps that I include too, just because I thought it was interesting. See absentee ballots on the right. There really isn't much here, probably because mail-in ballots were sent to everyone. Like a lot of some states did that because of the pandemic, where they would send the ballots in, or people would request their absentee ballots and they would mail it in, or put it into a designated drop box, which is what I did personally. So that's probably why there really aren't many absentee ballots that were requested in these areas, because they were already getting mailed to people. This also shows that the margins in certain counties here were really big. Meanwhile, they were tighter in other ones. I just thought those were interesting. And then there's also the total Biden votes. You can see that most of the votes from either candidate, were coming from more urban areas, with some of these are just because there was a sheer a lot of these counties like here, even though there aren't the most people, it's just like they're more rural, and there was enough where it was registering more than the just pure white. So here's the 2016 results. Like thought I would include this and then compare it to 2020. And one thing that would jump out to you right away is these margins of victory. See that there's this one that's really high. And the reason for that is I had to do that because of the nature of the data. Because there were some of these counties, like for example here in Utah, where the margin was extremely wide. So if I didn't set this so high, if I set to say 50, a whole bunch of these counties just they just wouldn't show up. They would just be blank because there wasn't a value high enough to register them, and can't have a map of these states with random counties missing. So I had to do that. Another thing is, notice that this right here, I did this because when I got the data set initially, it was just showing up. There was some counties that should have been blue that were red, and vice versa. So I had to do this just to make sure that if there was a winner either way, it would show up in the correct color. And also, when I got the data set, these were negative and these weren't positive. So I just changed it so it doesn't say -20, -10, -5. It's just a visual change. And so these are the 2020 results, and there are some differences that jump out. There's some counties which are darker red, some counties that are darker blue, and then actually a few that flip. So when you look at the comparison of the side by side, you look and see that in 2016, there were some counties here that Clinton won these areas, though you see Biden won them by more. And you can see that, say, for example, this county flipped to Biden, this county flipped to Biden. Meanwhile, a lot of counties like here, Trump solidified support. Here, Trump solidified support. But the solidification here were offset by gains here in the Denver area and Albuquerque. So Biden won Colorado, he won New Mexico, Trump won Utah. Arizona was very, very hotly contested this time around, and it was very close. But Biden did pull ahead largely because he was able to flip Maricopa County here, which is where Phoenix is, from 2016, where Clinton lost it, but then he was able to nearly win it, and that was enough to push him over the top. So then here's some side-by-side comparison to 2020 and the population. You can see that a lot of these more populated areas voted for Biden, like here. Though here's some populated areas here. Meanwhile, they vote heavily for the incumbent president, but that's not surprising due to Utah having a high Mormon population. It tends to vote conservatively. As I said earlier, this is a very high population area, which traditionally had voted for Republicans, but Biden flipped it. And here, there's a fair amount of people living here. Biden did pretty well here. And there's also median income. A lot of these wealthier areas, a lot of them voted more conservatively. Meanwhile, in these wealthy areas here, they voted more liberally a lot of the time. So it really just depends. Like there's a lot of factors. Again, there's, for example, race factoring into it, because there's wealthy people here voting blue, but there's also really poor people here voting blue, but that's a lot of it is because of Native American the Native Americans voting blue. They typically do. Minorities, by and large, typically do vote for the Democrats. And so you finally see the poverty. As I said, Native Americans here have voted blue. So there's really there's some wealthy areas that voted blue, some wealthy areas that voted red, some poor areas that voted blue, some wealthy areas that voted blue. So it gets down to that there's some other factors such as education level and race, but I didn't really cover that. And so thanks for watching. I will say that I know that it would have been nice if there was more so of a some sort of direct statistical analysis between, say, population and the vote count. But I'll be honest, I didn't know how to do it. I just wasn't really sure how best to go through that because if I was going to attempt something, I wanted to do it justice, but I just did not know. I just didn't really know how to do it. If I could do it all over again, I would fix that. But I was just didn't know what to do. Starting to run out of time because it's finals week. We're all stressed out, so I couldn't get it done. But I tried my best. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Anyways, okay, bye.